All right, well, it looks like they're ready to go. Maybe we can get this thing started.
I know, after all the technical difficulties.
Good old league.
We couldn't deny them your beautiful face.
That's true. You couldn't. That's what the delay was over, whether or not I would have a cam or not. That is the delay.
All right, so we have a really long acronym versus Blackstar. So, be
Those intimidating, really long acronyms.
I know. The Noobs Willow is gonna get the first ban. I guess they're just gonna discuss it.
These teams don't know each other well enough to do target bans, correct?
Well, no, actually, yesterday we saw a couple of bans. We saw a ban out on Fiddlesticks. There's a Diamond player that mains Fiddlesticks, and so he got banned out every game. There's a ban out on Swain, so they know a little bit about each other. We have a Zach ban. That's interesting. What do you think about that?
Zach ban, I don't know. I think that he's not really proven enough. He can be difficult to deal with. His ult is very disruptive. So I mean, as you look at Vi, her ult's the same exact way. So we'll see. Maybe they're trying to go for anti-crowd control bans, and they're going to suck up the rest of the champs available. It's odd that Amumu or Malphite has not been banned yet.
Yeah, that's true. We saw that Hecarim wasn't banned in the first game from yesterday, and it proved to be a bad decision. So we'll have to see if he gets picked up this game. But I was just told that Shogath is in fact a respect ban. I'm not sure for who, but I was just told that. So.
I see. Yeah, I mean, once again, if you have a Cho'Gath respect ban, it means these teams are familiar to a degree with each other. So it'll be interesting to see what the picks are. Are they going to pick some sort of composition that they're going to go with, or do you think that they're going to just pick what they're comfortable with and go with there?
I mean, it's really up in the air. We saw yesterday a Caitlyn Soraka lane that didn't do so hot, but they stuck with it, and in Game 2 it really paid off. So we see Thresh is taken. This is the first game of the tournament that I've seen Thresh in, and he's a really powerful champion right now, so I'm kind of surprised he wasn't banned also.
No, that's true. As I said, Amumu's still on the board, Malphite's still on the board, and Blitzcrank is still on the board. You don't normally see all three of those champs still available, but and even Hecarim to a degree. So, I mean, we'll see. And it seems like neither one of the teams is deciding to go for those picks.
Well, Nasus has been quite popular lately, both in the tournament and in professional play. So with his ultimate now extending his wither, he gets really tanky late game, and he's hard to deal with. So it looks like we're gonna have a Varus versus Caitlyn matchup. Sivir. I'm sorry, Sivir. She can they're playing games with me. I'll just have to wait till they lock in. All right,
right now, as we already see, we see a lot of crowd control coming out from blue team. We see the ultimate of Thresh already being able to lock down pretty much a whole area for a long period of time. We have Lux, who's the queen of crowd control, and Varus. His ult is very team-oriented as well. What do you think about that?
Oh, I agree, definitely. And one thing about Lux and Varus also is not only do they have a lot of crowd control, but they have a lot of poke. So Varus is definitely going to be able to fight back against Caitlyn in lane. And Caitlyn is going to be supporting with a Lulu, so that is a very poke-oriented lane.
Poke-oriented lane against, it seems, as I said, like a lane that will eventually outscale them. It seems like purple team is going to be behind if they don't get ahead early, I guess is what I'm trying to say. We'll see if they're going for swaps. I'm assuming Nasus will be in the jungle, which we've seen before. What do you think about the team compositions just in general thus far?
Right now, from what I'm seeing, I'm giving my edge to the blue team because I feel like Thresh really scales a lot better late game than Tark. Now Tark's ult, it can be very nasty.
And there's the Amumu pick.
Yeah,
I think that's a great pick. Didn't mean to interrupt, but the Amumu pick, it just furthers the composition that they already have going for them, and he does a respectable amount of damage as well.
Oh yeah, he's very, very scary when he comes out of the jungle with his bandage and stun. And I mean, they have two grabs now, so not only do they have a Thresh grab and a lockdown, but Thresh can lock down, Amumu can get in there and throw his ultimate down, or vice versa. So it's going to be really hard for Purple to deal with.
Essentially, they won't be moving for a long period of time.
Right.
Especially, and they have really good engage if you think about it.
And
if Lux lands a Q, and then Thresh lands a grab, they can engage on either one of those things. And in addition, Amumu out of the jungle can also engage for team fights. So it seems like they have a very, very engaged, disengaged, friendly team, as opposed to what we see out of Purple team, which really it seems like the only form of crowd control they have is the stun by Tarek.
Right. Well, they do have the Nasus slow. It's not quite as solid, but they definitely seem a little bit tanky. But I just don't know right now. I mean, and not only I forgot totally about Varus's ultimate. So combined with the Amumu ultimate and the Thresh ultimate, it's gonna be rough to deal with because they can lock down this purple team, and then Lux can just chainsaw that laser through there.
I was told that the long acronym stands for World War I Aftermath. Apparently,
all right.
That may or may not be true, but that's what I've been told. So they finish it up with a Wukong alt, which does give them a little bit more CC. His alt does provide that, but really all they have is that and the Tarek stun. They are a very slippery composition, though. Nasus is hard to finish off and kill, and Vladimir is also very, very slippery as well. His pool makes it very difficult to even land a Lux Q. So we'll see how the two teams' compositions work out here in about 30 seconds.
Yeah, I'm really interested to see the top lane fight it out. Riven and Wukong should be very interesting. Wukong can be pretty annoying to lane against. So
pretty annoying. He can be very annoying. But no, I agree. I think that it's going to be very interesting to see what the top lane does. The bottom lane, in my opinion, is also a very interesting matchup. If Thresh Varus doesn't stomp, I will be surprised, but we'll have to see.
Yeah, again, like I said, I'm really excited to see Thresh finally picked. He's just a solid choice. And some would say overpowered.
Yeah, I mean, Lumen in the... well, there's a delay.
Yeah, 3-minute delay.
Alrighty. Well, we get a nice little, let's say, excerpt from Lumen. It says, blue team wins if this lasts longer than 30 minutes. Do you agree with that?
It's hard not to, but, I mean, Vlad can be a really tough champ to deal with. I mean, not only does he put down a lot of damage, but he's also tanky. I mean, you have Nasus, who's going to be equally tanky, and Wukong's a pretty good bruiser in his own respect. So, I mean, they're looking to play a really tanky team, but on the same side, I mean, the blue team, they have a Mumu, they have Riven, and they have Thresh, all very formidable tanks.
I agree. I don't see a whole lot. I see a lot more damage coming out of purple team. Maybe that'll be a saving grace if Vladimir does get fed, if Wukong also gets fed, if Kate gets fed, for redundancy. They may be able to pierce through the tankier team of blue.
Yeah, I think Lux could have a little bit of trouble with Vlad if he's really good with his pulls and dodges those stuns. Pulls out of the ultimate, I think he could do a lot of damage. But then again, if Lux might be able to roam bottom a lot and just fire off her ult when Thresh gets a good slow off. Because, I mean, his ultimate is basically, it's not a snare, but it might as well be. It reduces movement speed by 90%, I believe.
Are you talking about whose ult?
Thresh.
Thresh's ult? Yeah, I mean, as I said, it's absolutely devastating. But what you also pointed out something very good, that it really depends on whether or not blue team lands their ults. If Lux misses an ult followed by a missed Mumu ult, they could get annihilated just simply because that's what their whole team comes down to. A blanket Mumu ult can definitely kill a whole team, but if you miss it, it also can lead your team to a pretty bad engagement.
Yeah, I agree. I definitely think that blue team, it looks like they put maybe a little more thought behind their team composition. Purple team, though, might be playing champions that are way more comfortable and familiar to them. So it just depends. We'll have to see how the lanes match up and how everybody plays. It is a give and take. It is a give and take. Yeah, I mean, I'm sure you're unaware. I'm definitely unaware of anybody's skill level in this matchup, so it'll be fun to see.
I agree. I mean, we're almost into it now. 41-second delay period. This is it's been the longest 3 minutes of my life.
I know.
And I don't know what to specifically call you to while we're waiting here. Is it Mangrease or is it Lex?
Mangrease works, I guess.
Mangrease works? Okay. I think that you were probably the only person that could ever say that.
I could never be called Mangrease in real life. I mean,
that's true. I guess you might
Grease.
As well be called
My cousin actually calls me Grease from time to time. It's whatever.
That's true. That's true.
So call you
if you do hear me refer to him as Lexicon or Lex or Mangrease, you'll know who exactly I'm talking about. So in 5 seconds, we're about to get into the game, and then we'll have a nice loading screen.
Yeah, we got a long wait. So much fun.
Either that or the client will crash, and we'll both be dead.
It happened yesterday, so let's
there you go. Nothing new here.
Hey, we'll get to see some banners for leagues.
No, that's true. That's true. Any additional comments you have about the compositions? Or do you think we pretty much exhausted that?
It sure feels I'm exhausted just talking about it.
You're exhausted just talking about it? All right, now we can take a look at analyze some of the summoner spells. What do you think about the exhaust on Riven? Do you think that's going to hurt her killing potential at all, or do you think that's just going to make her even more formidable in lane?
I don't think it's going to help so much in lane, but I really, really like Exhaust because not only does it slow the movement speed of the enemy champion, but it also slows attack speed. So, like, especially in bot lane, it's very, very important to exhaust the AD carry. And I think it's going to be the same with Exhaust in the Wukong. So, I mean, I know he's not really based on attack speed, but at the same time, it's just a solid summoner to take.
I have an important announcement to make. Already, Purple is behind not only in what I consider the team comp battle, but also in the skin battle, the most important battle that there is. You have Blight Crystal Varus and Sad Robot of Mumu against the lonely General Wukong.
And Sad Robot of Mumu is arguably one of the best skins in the game.
They could have had only Sad Robot of Mumu and already been pulled out ahead. But we will see. I'm sorry, the quick memes do crack me up, but it happens. It happens. JRP man for life gets already message deleted. That's the way it works, man. But I do appreciate the effort you did put into making fun of Nagy. It's appreciated.
Oh, if you watch it in a game, you lose out on chat, and you also get to lose out on our wonderful, wonderful commentating.
Yes. Do you even lift? That's the question coming out of the chat. There is Nagy commenting, LMAO. Thank you very much, Nagy.
Oh, I'm really surprised though we don't see any teleports. One of my favorite things to watch is just a solid top lane, just ganks from teleports. Just so much fun.
That's true. I mean, it also gives a little bit more versatility to your team. But if you look at blue team, do they really need a teleport with how their ults are going to work out late game? Or is it going to be a farm game that they're going to really try to hope, as Lumen said, push it past 30 minutes and just win the game via comp?
Welcome to Summoner's Rift.
Alright, I think everybody's arranged properly. Is that the right matchup? Yeah, one thing we noted in previous games is that Purple Team, well, I guess like in previous games, Purple Team is moving somewhat in closer proximity than Blue Team. I don't really like the fact that Varus is off alone. I know that, yeah, he can get down there and CS a little faster, but I just feel it's dangerous.
Well, you see a lot in the LCS that a lot of teams will come down and camp that tri-bush right away. And it usually results in a kill if the AD carry is sitting right where Varus is. Fortunately for him, that's not what they are planning on doing. You see Purple defending very nicely and Blue doing the same. So it seems like both teams are confident that they can win the lane battle and then push their advantage to the late game.
Oh, yeah, definitely. And I see coming out, we have some pretty standard starting items. Riven did elect to go Fortitude Pot, even though Fortitude Pot was increased by 100 gold.
Recently nerfed from 250 to 350 gold. Yep. That does reduce it. That means she can take a ward to lane, and she only gets one extra pot, from what I believe.
Right. No wards.
So we will see how that strategy works out. I have not been able to see that very much, just simply because it was recently changed. And we also see each team helping with wolves. And a pretty standard opening from both teams.
Caitlyn snipes the big wolf there from Nasus, and that's going to hurt. It actually might keep him from leveling here. We'll have to see, depending...
It's true. That's true. It may. I don't think it'll necessarily be a big deal on Nasus. But
there
he did take a lot of damage.
Golems is enough.
Yes, the blue golem will be enough to get you to level 2 every time, as long as you don't get some experience sniped by another player nearby.
Now this might be a little bit of foul up by Purple Team here, is to let Blue Team get into lane faster. That it's definitely going to be a difficult lane with Thresh and Varus, and they seem to have got into lane almost immediately.
And if you know, an immediate gank by Nasus, which forces them even back out of lane again.
I need to switch the team names. Sorry about that.
No, not a problem. Another thing I noticed by Blue Team, they did not take advantage of the Golem start on the bottom of Blue, which a lot of people consider to be a little overpowered at this time. Right now we're looking at the top lane matchup. We see Wukong and Riven seem to be duking it out here. We'll see who wins this. This is going to be a very frustrating, kind of slow matchup.
Yeah, it is very back and forth. I noticed Riven missed the combo, though. What she really needs to do to really make use of her passive is to land an auto attack in between each ability, in between each time she shoots her Q, and she gets bonus damage, and she just didn't do it. I think she could have traded more efficiently.
I agree. It seems like there's a stalemate at mid. There's not much to see there. And the camera moves back down to bottom, and we see that Thresh is doing a great job using his passive to poke that Caitlyn. There's another hit. It seems like Taric is playing a little bit passively, and we'll see how that ends up faring for both of them.
Yeah, not much happening right now. Just kind of the normal things that you like to see in a game. Nobody dying extremely early, which is, while good for both teams, is not. I mean, everybody wants that first blood, so it's gonna be interesting to see who gets it first. Wukong is gonna back actually up top. No, he's not gonna back. Maybe doing a little bit of a lane bait. Not exactly sure what he was thinking, but he is pushed pretty hard. And it doesn't appear he knows Amumu's bottom, but Amumu looks like he's gonna come into gank now.
Yes, and another thing I'm noticing is Varus is way ahead in CS. It's 20-8 right now, 21-8 actually, and it seems like they're doing just fine without the Amumu gank already. And there's going to be the first kill of the game onto Amumu, the wrong person to have the kill on. I guess between Amumu, Thresh, and Varus, I mean, who would you rather pick in that?
Oh, I would definitely put the kill on Varus. I think Amumu was trying to get the assist. I don't think he needed to tantrum. I think he could have came into Bandage for the assist. I don't see a problem with that, to give him a little bit of an edge in the jungle. But definitely taking the kill off of Varus kind of hurts, especially if Varus is super ahead. And in mid-turret, Vlad dives Lux with his pool and gets the kill.
And he gets away. That's one dangerous thing about Vladimir, is he can do that almost at any time, and he only becomes more potent when he hits 6 because of that delayed damage on his ult. It seems like top lane, I call this the boring lane until ults are had, because it's simply, and the fact that they have no teleports makes it even more boring, is it just seems to be a slugfest, and it seems like the farming is a little bit different. That you have a very large difference. Riven having a 28 farm to 11 lead. That is quite substantial.
Yeah, it's definitely not a good thing. I think they know that Nasus needs to get up there and help out, and that's why he came in with a gank. Take a little pressure off of Wukong. With Caitlyn being so far behind in CS, Purple Team needs to get Wukong farmed. It just needs to. I mean, Vlad's going to help out a lot with the first kill. He's up a little bit in CS, but we still got to see how it plays out.
But as we see already in this game, there's almost a 1,000 gold lead, if not exactly a 1,000 gold lead for the blue team, simply because they're out-farming their opponents drastically.
Oh yeah, definitely. Riven is going to go back to lane with a second Dorn's Blade. Or, well, 2 Dorn's Blades, because she started with Fort Pot, so.
The 3 players from Blue Team are actually the top 3 in farm as well. So they are Riven, Varus, and Amumu beat everybody else on Purple Teams in terms of farm number. And that is a pretty big league, and we'll probably see that whenever they return to lane.
Yeah, if you have a solo lane, you definitely don't want the enemy jungle to be out farming you. It's just, there's no reason for it, but I mean, I understand there's a lot of pressure. A lot of pressure being put on. Bot lane's in a lot of trouble because, like I said earlier, you saw how Thresh can use his E to just keep clawing Caitlyn back and eventually giving up the first blood.
Yeah, he did a really good job poking with that passive in the very beginning. It gives him extra damage, and he really utilized it, and he's really pushing her back.
Looks like Lux is going to turn the table mid. Amumu comes in. He doesn't need to, though. And,
doesn't need to and doesn't get anything, and Vladimir seems to overstay his welcome there, but he did a great job getting that first kill, so really all she did was even up the lane.
Oh yeah, definitely. He's above in CS. She actually just ulted the creep to catch up a little bit. I was a little confused at what Vlad was doing going back into that, but I think he was trying to use his ultimate on her. That's what it looked like, but it just was too late.
It seemed like he was trying to bait something out, but with Lux you can't do that. She's just too dangerous from too far away. We also see little exchanges here top. It seems to be a back and forth, and as I said, it's just a slugfest. Wukong is kind of gaining back his disadvantage in farm, but Riven's doing a good job making sure it's just out of reach for him.
One thing I want to point out that just happened is Nasus did take the second blue, and so did Amumu, so that's going to hinder their mids. I don't know if I like that from either side. with mid being such a close matchup, I think you definitely want to get your player the edge, and they just...
I think it's actually more important for blue. I agree that I disagree with it on both ends, but Vladimir, since he uses health and not necessarily mana, he probably could have used it for the cooldowns, but at the same rate, it seems to be a pretty even lane, and neither one of them got blue, so it seems like it'll probably just be an even lane.
Varus landed his, was it Vile Corruption? Is that his ultimate? His Chain of Corruption, I'm sorry. And did pick up the kill on Caitlyn. However, he was killed bot lane by Caitlyn's Ignite, so
they exchanged kills, but as we said, Varus is so far ahead, he's already picked up a BF sword, which will give him huge amounts of damage in lane, and Caitlyn, due to the items that she's already chosen, going for that Vampiric Scepter will put her even further back. She will not be able to engage at all bottom lane anytime soon.
Right, I mean, a lot of players will get the Vampiric Scepter for the sustain, but when somebody has a BF sword, and you're really kind of behind, it kind of pigeonholes you into a Bloodthirster, and a lot of the meta now is going Infinity Edge. The Koreans believe that Infinity Edge makes plays with that extra...
Oh, we got an ult by Amumu in the mid, and it looks like Lux is going to save her Q until he's out of the pole, and she does a beautiful job landing it, and he falls.
And there it is. The ultimate comes down. She might not have needed to use it, but that's okay. Let's just make sure we get it. And Lux and Amumu have really turned this lane around, and I think that if they want to stay in this game, they need to do more of the same.
Yeah, I mean, for a team that was already ahead in the farm count, it really kind of pushes them just that much.
And a beautiful
grab.
And down goes his ult. She hits the wall.
Yeah.
Varus just Qs do so much damage right now. It's hard for them to deal with.
I mean, as I said, the jungle really needs, for purple side at least, needs to come down there and relieve a little bit of the pressure. It seems like Amumu is getting bottom lane far more often, and he's getting mid far more often.
Oh yeah, this definitely, and it opens up an opportunity for blue to dragon, and I think this is the right call, definitely. Amumu throws down the pink. There's no wards from purple team, actually, so...
But Nasus does know this is going down, so they may be able to test it. No, it is a pink ward. They did clear. Or at least made sure nothing was there, but they are ready to respond. Oh, and
Nasus.
a steal by Nasus.
Nasus with the steal. Blue needs to turn this fight around right now. Thresh is going to go down to Ignite.
Oh, wow, a triple kill for blue team. Lux seems to, at least takes down Vladimir.
The triple kill for purple team there. And
that's what I meant. Excuse me.
They definitely needed that, being so far behind in their bottom lane and top lane. I mean, they need to start making smart plays like that. It was a great job of Nasus to go in and smite the dragon. That's why you never burn your smite when there's a potential dragon coming up. We were wrong about that ward. Actually, that was a ward from the purple team. So Mumu did not clear. Purple had vision, and that's really what needed to happen there.
And that's what changed it. Sorry for missing that, but that is a great point. He had vision the whole time. He knew when to come in there and smite, and as you see, it paid off. What do you think about this decision to push really aggressively on this mid tower?
I would have liked it a lot more if there was CS there. I think that if they would have attacked, stayed on the turret, they might have done some serious damage. I don't know that they could have gotten it down. I'm a big fan of putting on pressure onto other lanes. So anytime you could put on a little bit of pressure, I like it. It gives you map control. And middle turret is probably the most important initial turret to take down. It's arguably one of the more important objectives because it just opens up so much of the map.
I agree. And I also want to point out a comment by BearCatGolfer94. He said, don't see how any of Lux's attacks hit. They were like feet away. I saw the same thing here, so I don't necessarily think it's between the stream and us. But that's exactly how I saw it in game. So it's probably latency, at least from the spectator mode. But it looks like we also have the bot lane still chugging away with very little help from their jungler.
To comment on that, I did notice sometimes on ramps, and there is a slight ramp right here in the middle, that when you fire an ability, it sometimes looks like it is missing, but it's really just above them. So the animation can be a little funky at times.
There you go, the man, the myth, the legend, giving you the knowledge that you didn't know you needed. But it seems like, once again, the tower's bot lane are about even. It doesn't seem like blue team has done that much damage, but I don't really think that they need to the actual tower since they are so far ahead in lane.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, right now they're looking at a 1,300 gold lead. They definitely want to pressure this tower down. They're doing a good job of it. Thresh lands another grab. He's been really great with his grabs all night. His box does miss, however, a little late. but it didn't matter.
Thresh ends up picking up the kill, which actually is not very good for what just happened.
He gets her with an auto attack, and Varus is forced to fire off Chain of Corruption.
Has to use Chain of Corruption to disengage, and I don't think that they're necessarily going to complain about that. Thresh with a little bit of gold isn't a bad thing. I'm sure they would have preferred it on Varus, but we'll see if that has any impact in the bottom lane fight. I just can't see that it will, unless Nasus spends a lot of time down there.
Yeah, I agree.
So
oh, sorry, go ahead.
Oh, I was just going to say, if you want to turn your attention to the items, maybe we could talk about that. It seems like there's a lot changed since we first loaded in, obviously. What do you think about the items on both sides? It seems like Riven is by far the most farmed and has probably the least items.
Yeah, I'm really interested like that. Let's take a look at the gold clock. She's only holding on to 400 gold. So I mean, you got to remember the Dorn's blades are 495 a piece. The Vampire Acceptor is 800. I don't know if it was in season 2 that was a really good buy set, but with Vampire Acceptor being increased to 800, I mean, I might just prefer the Brutalizer at this point and get that. As we're talking, Riven ults and gets a kill. She gets away from the turret.
She does. She does not have much health left. She has, I think it was below 100 health left. You see Nasus coming up here to try to rectify the problem, and she stays a little bit too long. She most likely will dive to them.
I think that was Riven being greedy and trying to pick up a little CS. She was definitely safe to back there. But as I was saying, I really like to see the Brutalizer on Riven, or even a Phage. The Phage will make her a little more beefy, a little tanky, and it'll add that slow, 25% chance to slow your enemy when you attack them. The Brutalizer, on the other hand, definitely gives you the armor penetration that Riven just thrives off of. So it's an interesting choice.
I agree, and I also wanted to comment down on bot lane once more. It does seem like blue team is substantially ahead, but Caitlyn is doing a great job at just staying within reach, just staying to the point where she can do damage in some form or another. She is 1-4, but Varus only has 2 of those kills, so she is at least minimizing the damages that have been caused by that uneven matchup bottom lane.
Right, a little more on the itemization. While we were talking about how, you know, Riven has a lot of farm, she doesn't have quite as many items, but you got to remember the double Dorns is probably why she's so far ahead right now in lane. She's just dishing out the damage to Wukong, and he really is having trouble farming. Then
I mean, if you look at Wukong, he actually has even less items than she does, which is natural. He's at half the farm. Oh, and we see a Curse of the Sad Mummy going down on bottom lane, freezing Taric in place, but they do trade a kill on Varus for a kill on Caitlyn. So a pretty even trade going out bottom lane. But as I said, back to the items, it seems like Wukong has comparable items at least to Riven, even though she is so much further ahead.
Yeah, it's kind of the top lane. I mean, it's definitely, you want to be able to sustain, you want to get tanky top lane. I mean, it's no surprise.
Oh, and the Chain of Corruption goes down on Caitlyn, and she just barely gets away.
Yeah, I think that Nasus isn't there, and that fight ends up a little differently, but that was a 2v1 right there, so that just goes to show you how far ahead Varus is right now. He's got a Dorn's Blade, he's got his boots finished, he's got a BF sword, and Caitlyn's still sitting on a Vamp Scepter and her Dorn's Blade.
We'll be able to see what she picks up now when she goes back. She does have finished boots and a Vampiric Scepter and the original Dorn's Blade that she started with. She seems to pick up more pots and keep coming back. And this is what I was talking about in the very beginning of the game. Since that she bought that Vampiric Scepter and then went her boots, she's even more delayed when it comes to getting a damage item like a BF sword. So that's probably why she's saving up.
Right now, top lane, we just saw exactly why Riven took that exhaust. Wukong tried to get away, Riven exhausted him under turret, she ulted and just went in on him, and there was nothing he could do to get out. So I guess that exhaust is really paying off.
And a flash and a burned ult by Lux here does not end up actually getting the kill, but it was pretty close.
Yeah, it's just like we were talking about in Champ Select. It's really important for Vlad to be able to dodge those attacks. I mean, he has a pretty standard build. He has his Will of the Ancients, so that's going to allow him to sustain. It synergizes extremely well with the way that his lifesteal works. So, you know, it's just a very, very common build to see. What I'm really liking though is from Nasus. I like the Locket of Solari early. It gives you cooldown reduction, it gives you tankiness, and it gives you to toss on anybody that needs it. So.
I agree 100% with that assessment. I mean, it does give you a little bit of tankiness, and if you think about it, that's what they're lagging. As we see I forget the Vladimir's alt's name, but he does get the kill off on Lux because of it.
Right, yeah, definitely. The ult just does tremendous amount of damage. It was very good play by Vladimir.
Emo play.
Now we have a fight over Dragon. Amumu's ult goes down, and Purple team is just melting. Their health is gone. Caitlyn ults, but it's just not enough.
The Curse of the Sad Mummy is devastating indeed, but Thresh picks up both of those kills, which will hurt their team. In a situation where they should have jumped ahead, they are only marginally ahead because of it.
Yeah, and I also don't like that they're dancing right now. I think they should just take Dragon and not worry about it. They had vision on Vlad and Wukong top. Riven is more than capable of handling both of them right now. It actually looks like she's going to pick up another kill. Her ult has been used, and she's going to chase Wukong through the jungle.
Oh, she bait? That was a beautiful bait. Maybe he ends up dead anyway, but Vladimir doesn't seem like he's going to be able to stop him.
Riven has
it looks like Vladimir will pick up the kill here. Or no, she's going to make a beautiful turn, and once again, it's really too close to call. Riven's been so fed, and she gets shut down by Vlad.
Yeah, that really hurts. I mean, she knew that Vladimir was in the area because he had just shown himself up top. I mean, her team does get Dragon out of it, but at the same time, it's not like Vlad was going to be able to go stop Blue from taking Dragon. So I think that sometimes you get ahead and you get a little greedy, you get tunnel vision, and you just see blood, and that's a little bit of what happened right there.
And that's one of those urges you have to fight. And I also wanted to point out that you previously talked about how they didn't go for Dragon, but if you notice, the purple ward just faded by Dragon, so they still had vision on it, and maybe they were worried about a Nasus steal. It just goes to show you that earlier decisions in the game, earlier plays made in the game, especially by Nasus, who is leading his team in farm, have definitely paid off and definitely at least struck a little bit of fear into the juggernaut that seems to be Blue Team.
Oh yeah, you make a very good point. I mean, if someone steals a buff off of you, especially Dragon or even Baron, you gotta be concerned.
In addition to that, I have to hand it to Purple Team. We've talked about how they seemed a little bit further behind, how their team comp probably wasn't as good, but they're only behind about 4,000 gold right now, which I say only behind 4,000 gold, but they started off almost on 1,000 right out of the gate. So Blue Team has not been able to capitalize as much as I thought they would. What do you think?
Oh, I definitely agree with you. I think giving up that first Dragon really hurt Blue Team's lead. Thresh picking up a couple of kills really can change how out of control Varus can get. If Varus has those 3 kills that are on Thresh, I mean, it makes him really formidable. And
it looks like
going to get a second Dragon here.
Well, it looks like they're going to try to pick it up, but it does seem like Blue Team is going to try to contest it. And there's the ult by Lux. It's a little too early, and Nasus lands the smite again. He has been essential in Purple Team.
Yeah. He's all, the smite timings are beautiful. The threshold comes down a little late. And it looks like
Purple Team's going to make a nice sweep here.
Definitely. Nasus will go down to the Varus.
Nasus will go down to the Varus, but that was a good trade. It was a 3-for-1 for a team that was much further ahead.
Oh, I agree with you right there. I think that the mistake was a lot of teams, they try to steal the Dragon. It's all about how you contest the Dragon. Sometimes, and I know I like to harp, you gotta contest Dragon, but sometimes if you're out of position and you come in late like that, it's not worth even contesting. You give it up, you're still ahead. I mean, they're letting Purple Team close the gap. Like you said, they picked up a 3-for-1. The threshold came down extremely late.
The Curse of the Sad Mummy did not get everybody that it should have. And in addition to that, Nasus once again right on target with the smites. And the Curse of the Sad Mummy goes off again. And I think they probably will pick up Vlad here. And no, he uses his pull at the perfect time and escapes that. And she still gets it anyway.
Yeah, it was a very nice follow-up by Lux. After he pulled through her stun, she followed it up with a Q and just blew him up.
I also have a breaking announcement. The last time back, Caitlyn did get her BF sword, so there is that for her. It doesn't matter that Varus already has an Infinity Edge and a Zeal, but she did finally get that BF sword.
Riven is a little too deep right now. I think that she did a good job of zoning out Nasus, but she needed to come back to the turret because she's just taking too much turret damage. Now, the way turrets work is every consecutive shot deals increasingly more damage, and she was taking both of the turrets were actually hitting her at one point. So I think
I agree 100%. That's one thing that you or I have never heard. You've gone too deep, and Riven did right there, and she definitely got lit up for it.
Yeah, I think that she needs to just take his hands off the keyboard and mouse, shake him out, and refocus himself and play like he did earlier in the game. Because now Riven, who is the most farmed player in the game, and Riven is also a very good snowballing champion when he gets farmed. He's 3 and 4 right now, so he's given up a lot of needless deaths.
Once again, I agree with you 100%. I think you're making great points here. In addition to that, she's also actually -1. So usually when you see a really farm player, you want to see them start to dominate and start to snowball, and we haven't seen that from Riven. But I think that's part of what happens when you get, at least in my opinion, a little cocky that you're so far ahead that you can dive 2 turrets deep against 3 different people.
Oh, and don't get me wrong. I don't think all of his playing is bad right now. I think he did a great job of zoning. That's definitely what you need to do. You need to zone out the threatening champs. And Vlad's just going to come under turret. His ult might finish off Lux.
Oh shit! It probably will.
Oh, and she shields herself just in time. So Lux is escaping with 20 HP.
20 HP. I mean, once again, that's a nice awareness by Lux to throw out that shield. It's easy to forget when you're in the heat of the moment, but she seems to have gotten onto it. It looks like bottom lane we're going to see probably no. He ends up getting away. They decide not to follow up. We're starting to see a little bit more discipline out of blue team.
Oh yeah, Tark is starting to get surprisingly tanky also. So I don't like the decision by Thresh to use his ultimate on Tarek. I would have liked to see him get Caitlyn in it.
I know the camera wasn't up there at the time, but it looks like Riven was picked off top lane, a 2v1 again. She seemed to go a little bit too deep. I wonder if at some point she's going to back off.
Yeah, there's really a big momentum shift, and I think it happened in that last Dragon fight. Purple's picked up the confidence they need and the gold they need, and they're starting to make good plays. This bot, however, is getting pushed out really hard, so they need to be more aware of controlling that, because they're going to lose a tier 2 turret here.
I agree that if they lose this tier 2 turret, it was not worth Purple to 2-man top. It looks like they're going to respond to that probably by pushing top tier 2 turret, and then maybe coming by and sweeping up the blue buff.
You know, I like this decision. They know that blue has 4 men on bot lane, and they know that only Riven can come back, and they just killed Riven. So I really don't think they're too worried. They might even just focus down this turret here. And no, they're gonna get forced away by Riven. I think it's a smart decision though. No need to die there. They did enough damage to the turret. If blue is out of position again, that turret's as good as dead. Alright, if we take a look at the items, actually, I see that Thresh has not picked up a Sightstone yet, and I don't know that I like this. I mean, we've seen that Purple's wards have really kept them in this game by warding Dragon and having good vision. Their ward got a Dragon Seal, and their ward denied Blue from taking a Dragon. And Thresh's wards really haven't been up to par, so I think that a Sightstone is definitely up, and he has it. I'm sorry. I was looking at the wrong champion. Thresh needs to start throwing down those wards then. I lost voice on you. Can't hear you.
Me now?
Yeah, there you are. You're good.
Yeah, that's my fault. But I was going to say that he does have the Sightstone. He actually picked up an Oracle's Elixir. So it's like he looked into the past 3 minutes and saw that you were going to be complaining about him not being able to ward and not being able to clear wards, and he did exactly what you said.
Yeah, I definitely like to see the Oracles out here because Purple's getting ready for Dragon. They have the timer. Their Dragon pops up, and Blue Team is going to try and counter Baron possibly here. No, Blue Team thinks that Purple is posturing for Baron.
I don't know, but they picked up a Baron nonetheless, and it's going to be devastating if Blue does try to take Baron before 35-minute mark, when the teams are generally able to take it very quickly. And as you see, it didn't result. They just gave up a free Baron.
Right. I think that
a free Dragon. My bad.
There was just a lapse in their wards, and they didn't know what was going on. They thought Purple was posturing for Baron. I mean, it happens a lot. You see people. Oh, I'm sorry.
We have a pretty big team fight going on. The Curse of the Sad Money coming down, locking down a few players, but not getting the area that it needs. And right now they've traded 1-for-1 with several hurt opponents. Purple team still dominating in the team fights. Can they keep it up, or are they going to overextend here? That is the problem I think they might run into.
I think that one of the main factors into them winning team fights is just Nasus's ability to zone people out. He is so tanky right now. He has his Spirit of the Elder Lizard. He's doing a little bit of damage. He's got his Locket of the Solari, so he's tanky. He can protect other people, and he's got a Glacial Shroud. He's very scary right now. His ultimate makes him almost unkillable, and you see that Riven and Amumu just aren't quite as tanky in comparison. I mean, Amumu did finish his Sunfire Cape, so there is that. But at the same time, Riven is going almost purely damaged. She has only a Chain Vest. And Vlad is actually one of the ones dishing out the most damage on purple.
I think you hit the nail on the head previously when you talk about that Locket. I don't actually even know if he triggered it in that last fight, but it definitely came into play. He was able to make his team a little bit more beefy and be able to tank up. And as you said before, Riven is not going defensive items. She's going pure damage, and it's really hurting them in team fights because they have no one to absorb the damage except Thresh.
Yeah, we see purple closing the kill gap as a result of it, and the gold gap. They're still trailing, but you could definitely see the momentum shift in their favor. And blue is just now discovering that dragon is gone. So a little late with the ward clearing, but I still think that's definitely one of the things they need to do to hang on to the lead.
Better late than never. As I said before, they finally got it, but they got good coverage on Dragon now. I don't know if they're going to wait for it or just kind of posture in that jungle. They are kind of setting a minefield for any of Purple's players to decide to wander away. In addition to that, I'd like to point out a comment by Ninfan5 that says, Blue still seems to keep their lead even with the deaths they have endured in the past few minutes, both in gold and in kills. And I agree 100%. It still seems like they're around 5k gold ahead, and they've really been losing team fights.
Down goes Chain of Corruption, and there's the CC we were talking about. And Neo Cypher just pointed out also that even with all the superior CC, Blue's losing. It's because they haven't been engaging the right way, and they haven't been disengaging. Varus makes a mistake of going back in, but Wukong gets caught out by Thresh, and he is killed, and Blue Team actually takes a favorable trade.
I agree. I think once again that you saw the Curse of the Sad Mummy go down and get 3 or 4 different people. You saw Varus dealing damage throughout the whole entire fight, and as you said, even turning around to finish off a Wukong. I think that's how they need to engage if they plan on winning this game.
Yeah, I like that they laid the trap. And like I said, Neo Cypher just got done saying about the crowd control, and that is the kind of engagement we need to see. We need to see the Chain of Corruption from Varus, immediately followed by the Amumu ult, followed again by the Thresh ult. So when they try to move out of the Amumu ult, they're slowed. So I think that sequence is much better. Previous fights, we've seen a lot of ults kind of all over the place. Amumu wasn't hitting enough people. Thresh was coming in too late. Chain of Corruption was on cooldown. And I think when all the ults are up together, that's really when Blue Team's going to thrive.
I mean, I agree with you 100%. And in addition to that, I also see that the gold between Nasus and Vladimir is where it's at its highest, and it seems like those are the hardest players for them to bring down. So I think their sustainability in fights is really paying off for them, but I also see Blue Team eventually being able to cut through that with the sheer amount of crowd control and damage that they possess.
Oh, definitely. That Vlad is definitely scary. I mean, he's 8-5 right now with 7 assists. Alexa's doing a great job keeping up. She has a favorable CS on him, but she's pretty close in kills also. So she's made herself relevant. She's done a good job of following up after Vlad pulls and taking blues and just keeping that mana edge.
I really have to give it to both of these teams. They're making a great game. When I personally counted Purple Team out in the very beginning, I was wrong to do so, and it's still close. But it seems like Blue is better with the ward coverage and still seems to have a slight lead both in gold, kills, and just map vision.
Right. I think, like we said earlier, that Blue realized, hey, you know, our ward coverage is not really that great. Nasus picked up 2 dragons by having it warded, and now they're a little hyperactive with the wards, and I really like to see this kind of ward coverage. I mean, it really gives you map control, and that's what this game's all about, is being able to pick people off, having map control, and winning your team fights.
Well, it seems like people are taking buffs and generally positioning. Do you want to take a look at the items and maybe give us what your thoughts on whether or not they're appropriate, whether or not the Riven's beefing up a little bit has helped, and anything else you might be able to divine for us?
I would really like to see Riven finish her Sunfire Cape.
Kate gets caught. Curse of the Sad Mummy goes down on only one player, but it's going to be enough. They get the focus down on Vladimir.
Yeah, they get him with the Lux ult and the Riven ult, and even though he pulls at the right time, he's still not going to get away from that. I think that Curse of the Sad Mummy went down just on Caitlyn. I don't think he saw Vlad standing there. I think that was a byproduct, but that team fight is basically a guaranteed dragon. I'd like to see Thresh throw a ward over the back wall of Dragon to make sure that it can't be contested. Oh, there's one in the bush right there. So.
Yeah, it looks like Purple is also... Oh, once again, Nasus goes in for the steal, but does not get it this time. Thresh throws down the ult. It looks like they're just going to feed a few more kills. This may actually be game if they decide to push really hard right here.
Yeah, I think that the Thresh ult was used a little prematurely. I think that he got a little excited and didn't want to give up the kill, or didn't want to let Wukong get away, but Wukong really stood no choice. Now, what we saw earlier in the game was blue team was going into the Dragon Pit too late to defend, and they lost a lot of players for that. And this time the tables have turned. Purple comes in with only 3 versus a 5 with Baron buff, and they're really going to pay for it right now. This should be an inhibitor.
Should be an inhibitor, but if you look, both top lane and bottom lane are pushing really, really hard for Purple Team. It's a bit fortuitous considering the fight that they just had. It seems like they won't. They will just get tier 2 turret, and they'll have tier 2 turret across the board.
Yeah, you know, that's not really a bad decision. They are ahead. They're now at 10k gold. They're slowly increasing their lead. They're going to take a dragon here and increase it a little bit more. I think it's... While they could get an inhibitor, it's clearly the safe thing to do. They don't want to give up any unnecessary kills. They've kind of slowed down their gameplay a little bit, and they're making less mistakes because of it.
I've counted out Purple before, so I am leery to do it again. They are behind by a significant margin and a Baron buff, but we'll see if they can claw their way back like they did in the beginning of the game.
Yeah, I agree with you. We're definitely starting to see that the team comp from Blue is just starting to click. Where it wasn't before. They're starting to play well together now, and I'm really impressed with how they've changed their game style, because there was a huge momentum shift in Purple's favor, and I thought for sure that Purple was going to roll the game.
Do you think that... I thought Purple was going to roll the game. That's very interesting.
Yeah, after that second dragon, I really thought Purple picked up the momentum that they needed to win. So, I'm really impressed by these two teams.
Now we have a comment in chat that says, Kate has no farm and it's starting to show. I agree with you 100%. It seems like Kate is not doing the damage that she was so able to do early on in the game, even though she was so far behind. And I think another issue that made it really, really bad for them is that Kate got caught out instantaneously. So there wasn't any trying to focus the AD carry, wasn't any AD carry running away and kiting. It was almost instant death for Caitlyn. And also, Vladimir, one of their most fed players, got killed right afterward as well, before Nasus had a chance to do any damage at all.
Yeah, I agree with you. I also I like the Infinity Edge on Caitlyn. I'm not sure how I feel about the Cutlass. I think she got it just because she had the Vampiric Scepter and she wanted to make it into something. I think it's a little too... I think she's too far behind, and it's a little too early for Blade of the Ruined King. It is a very good item, but we're not talking about a very beefy team right now. Really, all we've got is a Mumu, and Riven doesn't even have that much health, so Blade of the Ruined King is kind of wasted here. I think I would like to see a Phantom Dancer before that, and then maybe then the Blade of the Ruined King or a Last Whisper. I think it just hurts her potential damage.
It says, what is the one thing, Ninfan asked, what is, wasn't here for the very beginning of the game, it says, what is the one thing that's been holding Purple back from the very beginning? They just started really poorly and in CS and just in general kills, and it seemed like their jungle got around a lot more so than Nasus did. But we see that being actually a pretty good decision by Nasus now. It seems his team just was not able to hold on.
Yeah, I think that one of the problems they faced early, like you said, was the CS. I mean, Caitlyn was just way behind Varus in CS, and you can see that right now. She's 90, almost 100 CS behind Varus, and it's just he's picked up a lot of kills. They got first blood in bot lane, so Caitlyn got forced out of lane, and Vlad, who was arguably like the saving grace for Purple Team, got shut down by a Mumu gang.
Oh, and Caitlyn just gets wasted by the Lux ult. A nice ult, nice placement, but it's not hard to kill somebody when you do that much damage. I think right now we're starting to see the beginning of the end for the Purple Team, but as I said, they've surprised me before. There's Threshold, there's the Curse of the Sad Mummy. It seems like it's going to be all over.
Yeah, there's the CC that... It just goes to show you how good it is. We saw all of the ults go down there. We see the GA pop on Noob's Willow. So, It's just
Purple team's turret has
that's exactly the threat that the alts had, and the predictions before game that if they made it to 30 minutes, they would have the better team comp is turning out to be true.
It turned out to be true, but it did look like they had it won before that 30 minutes. I get some comments in the chat that said Kate is throwing so hard. I actually don't believe that's the case. She was pretty much stranded in lane. Her jungle didn't come down and relieve that pressure. And with a Nasus, it's really hard to do that anyway. And Varus got so far ahead that he was able to get that BF sword long before Caitlyn was able to substantiate any damage. And because of that, it looks like they will suffer the loss.
Oh yeah, there's the killing blow with the ace with Caitlyn. She tried her hardest, but just couldn't do it. That AoE comp just wreaked havoc. There's just nothing that could be done about it, I don't think. I think that they made a great stand at a point in the game when they were struggling, and I don't know. I think that Purple is definitely a very competitive team in this matchup, and that Game 2 might be drastically different. I hope we get to a Game 3.
I agree with you. I think that they're going to have to change up their composition, maybe put a little bit more thought into the way they're going to approach the game rather than how they're going to play. Because as I said, I think that they made some beautiful decisions throughout the game. It just turned out to be a little bit too much for them with all that CC of the other team comp.
Yeah, I'm really interested to see what. I guess we've been calling them Purple Team, but they're Blackstar. Is that it? Is that it? I believe.
Purple Team, I believe that they are Blackstar. Are you talking about like 150
Yeah, Purple
ninjas?
Team is Blackstar, yes. So
I see.
I think I want to see what they're gonna do to remedy the problem. What do you think? What do you think's on the agenda? If you were to coach them, if they were to say, "Hey, Slick, help us out. What do we need to do with our team comp?"
Well, the first thing I would say is you're asking the wrong person. The second thing I would say is focus in on a team comp that you guys are comfortable with, but also accomplishes a certain goal. If you look at what they had a Nasus and he was efficient, but what else was the team supposed to do? As we pointed out before, a lot of people saying Kate fed or Kate threw. As I said, I disagree with that. I think it's very difficult when you're up against a Thresh and a Varus in lane. How is she supposed to really do anything other than farm? And when she got down early, I think that was curtains for bot lane, and I think it really ended up hurting them later on in the game as well.
Yeah, I think that I don't like to blame jungle when somebody loses lane, and I'm not going to here, but I think that something that needed to change was Nasus needed to be bottom a lot more because he saw that his lane was getting crushed pretty hard. I mean, well, not crushed, but as far as CS goes, Caitlyn was way behind, and that's why you pick Caitlyn, to have a strong early game, to CS and to zone people, and the Varus just countered that, and he was well ahead in CS, and I think that Nasus needed to make that adjustment and go bottom lane and take care of it.
Well, here's the $10 question. What would you say that they should do in this next matchup here?
Oh, jeez. I think that they need. I don't know that they should go a crowd control comp, but I would like to see a little bit more crowd control in their composition. I think that before the game, if you remember, I said that he had picked a Lulu instead of a Taric, and they did the lock-in switcheroo on me and made me look silly. But I think I would have liked to see that Lulu more because Lulu does a lot of damage. I think she's really good with Caitlyn. I think that the poke comp there is really great. If you're going to go poke comp, you got to go poke comp hard.
I agree. As I said, I think that they were at conflict with themselves, and that's what ultimately led to that defeat. I think they all played fairly well, but they just got behind early, and you can't catch up when you have a Thresh, just in general. When you have a Thresh and a Mumu, it's nearly impossible. And they almost did the impossible, but it just didn't turn out good for them when Kate got caught out, and then Mumu ended up catching Vlad.
Well, I wanted to point out one more problem with the bottom composition for Blackstar, is that when you look at Taric, his ultimate doesn't really synergize all that well with Caitlyn because she doesn't attack really fast. She doesn't have like super burstiness. She has her poke and her Q. She has a trap and her slow, but I mean at the same time somebody like Graves who has a lot of burst synergizes extremely well with the Taric ultimate, and I just didn't see the Taric ultimate